These remarkable letters were written by RAF pilots half a century after the turmoil of the Second World War and record their most memorable moments from the conflict.
I spent several hours pondering over the useless destruction of some young man similar to myself.
The letters were sent to Joseph Frichelli, a collector who started to reach out to these pilots in the 1980s. So in this episode of Along These Lines, the first in a two-part series, we will be sharing their stories.
This country is at war with Germany.
This first letter comes from William Henry Hornby, based in Wiltshire, England. He was called to full-time service and joined 234 Squadron, where on August 26th and September 4th, 1940, he claimed his first aerial victories during the Battle of Britain. However, 2 days later, events took a very different turn. Here's what he wrote.
Dear Joseph Frichelli, you asked me what was my most memorable experience. This was on 6th September 1940. I was chasing a Heinkel 111 bomber, which was going fast downhill towards the English Channel. It was protected by 4 German 109 fighters flying high astern. This led me to suppose that the Heinkel was probably carrying senior Luftwaffe officers, if not Goering himself. I pressed forward knowing that if I did not get the bomber in 2 bursts of fire, I would need to deal with the fighters which were already on their way down. I was too late. I was about to open fire when I saw in my rear-view mirror the winking lights of enemy cannon pointing in my direction. Then everything went haywire. I was thumped on the back of my head, probably the armor plate behind my seat. I was falling out of control. I was not quite conscious, but I knew that it was time to go. The cockpit hood was jammed and would not slide back, nor would it jettison. I tried again and again to get free, thinking that I would crash with my aircraft, and that my wife would be short of a husband, and my unborn son would never know me. Suddenly, I realized that I was spinning upside down, and that if I released all my connections to my wonderful Spitfire, my weight would take me through the hood. I was right. There I was, floating in midair, or so it seemed, and all was peace and quiet. I looked up and saw my aircraft spinning merrily above me. It seemed reasonable to open my parachute, and it had just taken my full weight when I hit the ground. The Spitfire landed about 50 yards away. I was not badly hurt. About 2 months later, I was back with the squadron. All the odds had been against me, but I had survived. Yours sincerely, W.H. Hornby.
Hornby's Spitfire exploded over Quickbourne Lane in Northiam, East Sussex, and after recovering from his crash, he became an instructor, passing on his skills to new pilots before leaving the RAF as a flight lieutenant in 1945. This next letter comes from Robert Cowper, one of Australia's most decorated World War II pilots. Accredited with 6 aerial victories, the jointly claimed downing of a V-1 flying bomb, most likely destined for London, and many operations including daring, intense night flights over Normandy. His letter was short, but jam-packed with memories.
Dear Joseph, I'm not sure of my most memorable incident. In 1943, I crash-landed a Beaufighter 65 miles behind the enemy lines, and after some days managed to get to the British front line at Tripoli. Later in 1943, I was blown up by a bomb which exploded in a Junkers 88, which I shot down off Sicily, and I had to bail out and was picked up at sea. I have the Caterpillar Club membership for saving my life by parachute, the Goldfish Club certificate for saving my life in a dinghy at sea, the Flying Boot for membership of the Late Arrivals Club for walking back to base from behind the enemy lines. Regards, Bob Cowper.
After a wartime flying career filled with extraordinary moments, including crashing in the Sahara Desert while transporting top-secret radar gear, only to be saved by a local tribesman, he was discharged at the rank of squadron leader in December 1945. In an interview in 2012, he remarked,
"Most of the ones we killed, shooting down in their aircraft, were young fellows doing what they were told by monsters."
In a single line, he showed how deeply he mourned the young lives that were taken. Next, we hear from Air Marshal Sir Douglas Morris, a distinguished RAF officer who rose to become Air Officer Commander-in-Chief of RAF Fighter Command in the 1970s. In this picture, he's standing next to the instrumental Hugh Montague Trenchard, known as the father of the Royal Air Force. In 1940, Morris was a night fighter pilot, mastering the new radar technology, intense, deadly chases through the dark skies over Britain. Here's what he wrote to Joseph.
Dear Mr. Frichelli, you ask what was my most memorable victory of the war. I think it must have been my first, when I was flying night fighters. We had practiced for weeks on other crews, gradually getting the radar to work properly and evolving the best techniques to use. Then one night I was put on to an enemy penetrating low over the south coast, and after a very long background control and slow chase, eventually came up with him. And there he was in front of me in the darkness. He looked so like one of my own that I remember calling up the ground to check there were no friendly aircraft near me. And when they confirmed that, I fired and brought him down almost immediately. I was shaking with tension and excitement, and after telling my radar observer what was going on, suddenly I thought of the German crew dropping into the North Sea. And I remember thinking how cold it would be. I said, "Poor bastards." That was all. Douglas Morris. Sorry about the quality of the photo. It is a good likeness, but the lighting makes me look like Frankenstein. I'm not quite as grey.
After this action over the Channel, Morris was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, announced in the 21st of October 1941 edition of the London Gazette. The citation recorded that during the engagement, his aircraft had been struck by enemy fire, leaving him with only one functioning engine. Despite the damage, he nursed the aircraft home through the darkness and brought it safely back to base. Sir Douglas Morris's 406 Squadron, known as the Lynx Squadron, began as a night fighter unit, defending the British skies. By 1944, they had become Fighter Command's top-scoring intruder squadron, striking at the heart of Nazi supply lines. In total, over 1,800 sorties, 64 enemy aircraft destroyed, dozens of trains, vehicles and ships disabled, yet at great cost, with 37 personnel killed or missing. After the war's conclusion, Morris stayed on, guiding Fighter Command into the uncertain dawn of the Cold War. While some of these pilots were more than happy to respond with tales of victories and close calls, others were reluctant to talk too much. By the end of the conflict, Sir Dennis Mitchell, a wing commander with extensive combat experience, kept his letter short.
I think probably the most memorable moment was when, based in a largely bombed-out airfield in Germany, we heard that the Germans had ceased fighting, and the war in the European theatre was definitely over.
Reading these letters, we're reminded that the war didn't end when the aircraft were grounded, or the uniforms folded away. It lingered in the memories these men carried into old age. By preserving their words, we keep those memories alive and honour the pilots who chose to share them. Let us know which letter resonated with you the most in the comments. We have so many more diaries and artifacts like this to share, so please help support the channel by giving the like and subscribe button a click, and also the notification bell so you don't miss our next episode.